Shane Hewitt and the Night Shift. The Night Shift. The Night Shift.
Chris Abel is here. Real Chris Abel, Krisabel. Spells his name funny, but he's not weird. At least he's the good kind of weird. Hi, Chris.
Yes. Hi. Yes, I am the good kind of weird. Thank you very much.
Are you one of these digital twins that H&M is going to be using as you get signed up? Is that how you found out about this?
No, I mean, I have participated in a lot of strange programs, motion capture. I've been in some very, very tight latex suits and stuff. But no, I've not been turned into a digital twin yet that I'm aware of.
So this is interesting. Now, they say that they have signed deals with fashion models to be allowed to use a digital twin with AI to dress them and everything else, which I'm assuming that there's a healthy deal that the models have agreed to. So this seems to be a bit of an above board use of AI thing, especially when we've heard of all these nightmare stories about extras in movies and actors and stuff. What do you think? What are you seeing with H&M and how are they pulling it off?
It's interesting. So first off, I'll say they're not using fake models. We've often heard of AI and artificial intelligence to create fake stuff. That's not happening. What they're doing is very similar to what Hollywood has done with actors in, say, the Marvel superhero movies, for example. They have signed agreements with real human fashion models they would normally hire to come in and do a photo shoot for. The difference is they're sending them off to studios to have their bodies scanned. And I mean scanned to an incredible amount of intimate detail. They say they've scanned these women and men right down to their birthmarks. They've gotten the texture of their skins, their hair, every sort of detail physically of these men and women. Then what they're doing is they're creating digital copies, which they're dubbing as digital twins. From there, what the artificial intelligence does is it takes all that visual information and then basically puppets them, turns them into digital versions that can then be posed however H&M wants them posed, with makeup however the makeup is done digitally, and photographs that can be posed for any kind of situation that may be needed based on whatever marketing campaign that they're putting forward. So H&M is doing this. The fashion models for their side are not being cheated financially. They're still being paid. In fact, although H&M is arranging for the scanning, the fashion models still retain the rights to those scans. The digital twins are still the property of the real human fashion models. And H&M has to pay those models every time their digital twins are sent out for an assignment. So the only thing that's different here is that H&M sets up a fashion shoot. They sit down with a designer to create a campaign. But instead of a human being showing up to do the fashion shoot, the digital twin is sent in instead. The human being still gets paid, but H&M gets the creativity, the freedom to be able to create and put the model in whatever position they want, whatever kind of campaign to put forward. The downside that people have pointed out is that although the models are taken care of, this means that you have photographers who aren't getting work, makeup artists, fashion stylists, all the other people that normally would be involved in a fashion shoot are being cut out. They don't have a job anymore.
Yeah, and they cut out, like, the light person gets cut out, catering gets cut out, all these bits and pieces. But it would also speed up the process because you don't have to travel. So the airlines would get cut out because you don't have to fly models and agents to places and all those bits and pieces. So while seems to be above board, this is probably a little bit of the new world of which jobs are vulnerable and which jobs are not.
Yes, they're going to see how this works out. They're starting with 30 fashion models that they've signed this deal with. They'll see how well it works, and they say they're already committed to sign, say, another 30 more if things work out well. I mean, it's interesting because you could argue that this is going to skewer things. Well, they will favor models based off of their physical attributes rather than their ability to be emotional actors in front of the camera. So we may have a tendency to see the industry change from that point of view. There's all sorts of dynamics that's going to come out into play. If it turns out really well, H&M may be the pioneer where you have other retailers, other aspects of the retail industry jumping on board. It may be an all digital twin world. We'll wait and see.
You know, it's the interesting thing that we haven't talked about yet with this, Chris. To me, it's that model doesn't age. You can use the same model for decades.
Yes, there is the potential, I'm sure, for fashion models to think, oh, wow, I don't age out. I can get to the point where I'm 50 years old and where I might normally be pressured to retire, I can keep going. I can be like, James Earl Jones, his voice is going to continue to be Darth Vader long
forever.
after that might not be the case. Yes.
Yeah, very cool stuff. All right, Chris Abel is here. If you like to have your bubbly drinks, some mega high-tech bubbles, Chris.
I'm a man of fizzy drinks. I don't drink alcohol. I love soda pop. So this is very interesting. A company called Hydrosome Labs has just won a major food industry award. They've come up with a process to create ultra-fine bubbles. Bubbles that are so small, so tiny in carbonated drinks and things like champagne. They say their version of champagne can have 1 trillion bubbles fitting inside of the size of what would be normally just one champagne bubble. And so the result is going to be that you have drinks that not only have far more depth and detail in terms of little tinier bubbles inside, but the bubbles are so small, they don't float. So unlike a regular carbonated drink where the bubbles rise to the surface and then burst, these drinks will have bubbles all the way throughout the drink and they won't move and they won't change. They say the advantage is that you can now design drinks that use these bubbles as flavor delivery systems. So this will create a whole new generation of carbonated drinks, champagne, soda pop, that will taste different, have completely different flavors, but also different textures in terms of when you put it into your mouth, how the bubbles will interact with your mouth is going to be vastly different. This is not just going to affect beverages, but also has the potential to get involved in terms of desserts. You think of mousse, you think of mayonnaise. It changes how those products can remain preserved on the shelf and how long they'll last, but also it's involved in terms of the medical industry and makeup industry. Cindy Crawford, supermodel, has been the first one to sign with this company. She wants to launch an entire line of beauty products that use these ultra fine bubbles inside.
Wow, that's fascinating to think that there would be flavors inside flavors inside flavors. Mega high tech. Okay, Chris Abel, we've only got about a minute for you to get this last one. Sorry about that. Robot cats waiter. This is great. What is it?
So I've talked about this before on the show. There's lots of restaurants now in Canada that are using the BellaBot Poodoo robot cat waiter. This is a little tiny robot that goes around and you can use the touch screen to be able to order what you want. The trays on the side pop out, you grab your food from it, and then does a little animated presentation. The robot waiters have proven to be so popular that a Japanese company has released a plastic model kit where you can build your own robot cat waiter to have at home sitting on your desk. I managed to track one down, pandahobby.ca, already sold out. They got in their first supply for $30. They've sold out, even though the model is only about 6 inches, which is too bad. I wanted to actually put food on the trays. But it's a really cool little product. You can get one at pandahobby.ca. You can sign up, put your email address, and they will let you know when they get a restock supply. But they've already been selling out like crazy.
This is great. I love it. I would love one of those at home if you could just say, go get me a beer there, Robot Cat, and it would bring you the beer. That's what everybody's always wanted, glass of wine or whatever. Chris Abel, thank you very much, my friend.
All right, take care.
Real Chris Abel, Krisabel. If you want to get on Twitter and Instagram, you can find him on there.